Something that I have really appreciated from Behavior is the fact that they go above and beyond while making a new character in the game. The amount of details they add to their characters is impressive, and one of those details is the fact that they completely model the killers' faces behind some masks. Most of you probably already know this, but did you know that a lot of skins have custom details that are almost impossible to see? In today's video, we're going to be checking out every single killer unmasked and see some special cases like a completely maskless Leatherface and Nurse. The Trapper is our first killer that we're going to check out. Turns out, Trapper is a very well-known maskless killer, and some of his masks even let us see part of his face. Curiously enough, there are two types of Trapper currently in the game. The old model of Trapper that is still used on some skins, and the new, improved Trapper with better textures and overall more polished model. A curious detail is that in the new Trapper, he has a scar on the left side of his head, and this detail was absent in the old design. On his Road Rage outfits, we can see how Trapper is dirty with motor oil, and also how he uses the old model of Trapper, especially noticeable on his bloodshot blue eyes. On his Ironwork model, we can see how the devs gave him a mask that he uses while inside the wielding protective gear, but funniestly enough, the same part of his face that is visible on this model is also a part of the mask itself. So when you look inside of the welder's mask, you can see the Trapper's face. Also, it's curious how it seems like his nose is crooked on the new model. On his Forest Gloom skin, he has a darker skin tone, but what is the most interesting for me is how he has green eyes exclusively on this skin, whereas normally he has blue eyes. I have no idea why they did that. In his Nintendo Switch skin, it shows how burned and red he is under the mask, and also it shares the same scar on the head as the Rift outfit Good Son, so they've used the same textures as base, I'm going to guess. Finally, his most unique skin is a Seaside Psycho one, and he pretty much looks like a Pirates of the Caribbean grunt, with a face full of barnacles and blue, dead eyes. The face of the Nurse has been one of the longest mysteries in Dead by Daylight, but if you try to position your camera inside or use external programs, you would end up disappointed, as she has nothing inside modeled. That is, of course, until they released her Ashen Lady skin, which not only has a very unique underwear choice for her, but it's also the first time ever we have a fully modeled face of the Nurse visible. Huge thanks to Dweet for helping me out in getting these screenshots, and if you want to see more of the cool stuff we discovered together, then make sure to join my Discord with a link in the description. Without further ado, here is the Nurse without her mask. She looks extremely creepy and also has very cloudy eyes that are practically impossible to see in game. This is one of the coolest discoveries ever, and also proof that my thumbnails are never fake clickbait. Sadly, Myers does not have any modeled face inside his mask, but curiously enough they did model eyes inside of his mask that you can see in game and also in his character select icon if you turn your brightness up. Did you know this? Or is this the first time? Next up on the list is Huntress, and she is very interesting. First of all, it is already possible to see her unmasked face in-game with some cosmetic choices. However, she has two specific sets that are impossible to see in-game, so let's check them out. First of all, this is the Huntress without any masks, so you can fully see her face. She has black eyes and a scar on her top lip, which is kinda curious. Also, almost all of her cosmetics use the same texture. Her Mother Bear texture has this cool red and white face paint all over her. Her Solstice Devotee cosmetic is very cool as well, making her paler and with red all over her face. Also, she's completely bald in this skin. On her Cold Wasteland Survivor skin, she has two black lines going under her mouth and a cross on her left cheek. Her Chinese New Year skin features extra broad on her face. And finally, the two cool ones. One is her Mordeo skin. The Huntress becomes paler and has actual veins on her neck and face which are impossible to see in game, so there is absolutely no reason the devs should have ever spent their time adding this detail, because it's a set skin and there is zero part of her that is visible from outside. Her Baba Yaga skin turns her to a completely different character, being an old wrinkly granny. Her nose is different and she loses the scar on her lip, further proof that this is not a skin but an entirely new character altogether. I am very excited to show you this one. Just like the Nurse, Leatherface was a huge mystery since he had no eyes and nothing modeled inside. That is, of course, until his pretty lady outfit that not only changes his body model but also has a fully modeled face inside the mask. Well, if you remove the mask, it reveals the face of Baba. Again, this image would have been impossible to achieve without the help of user Dweet, so huge thanks again. Amanda is another really interesting character, since for 4 years we could not see her face inside, but turns out she always had a completely modeled and textured face that would end up being used on her Rift cosmetic. It's really interesting how each cosmetic has a custom blood texture inside her pig mask, except her most expensive one, which reuses the same head as her default cosmetic. Then, of course, we have her Rift cosmetic that has a black face makeup and also red lipstick. But did you know a very interesting fact about her is that, for some reason, the devs made her eyes brown exclusively in this cosmetic, when in reality she always had green eyes in the other ones. You can see this in-game with her Rift headpiece as well. Really curious indeed. By the way, another very useless fact about the pig is that she's the only killer in the entire game along with Wraith and Pyramid Head that has absolutely no teeth modeled inside her mouth. There isn't much to say about Clown, but if you ever wanted to see him without the white makeup, here is his face. This is used inside the chicken cosmetic. The Legion is by far the coolest characters that are masked. The only way to see part of them is by using specific masks like the one in the current Rift or Joey's face mask. The amount of detail they have is impressive. Here is Frank, who looks really cool and also has a neck tattoo that is pretty badass. In his blighted outfit, his eyes become completely orange, and in his Dia de los Muertos skin, he also gets a really cool black makeup all over him like the pig. This is Judy. She kinda reminds me of Frank, but with green eyes. She has dark eyeliner in her Dia de los Muertos skin, and also for some infuriating reason, she is also behind the mask in the angsty artist skin despite it being sold as a Susie skin in her animations. I talk about this in another video that I recommend you check out after this one. Then we have Joey, the only black male killer besides Doctor. He looks really cool with the beard and dark makeup. Then we have Susie, and wow did the devs spend time on her. First of all, she has braces. The amount of detail that went into this is pretty crazy, because it's impossible to see in game. It's also the reason why her default mask has braces as part of it. Also, she's the only one of the 4 that has an expression on her face, being this crazy psycho. I have no idea why she is like that. Sorry to disappoint, there is nothing inside the mask of Ghostface. The only official way to see who Ghostface is behind the mask is with his driver license add-on, so let your imagination run wild. Maybe in the future we will get a skin that has a modeled face inside, just like the case for Leatherface and the nurse. The Oni looks like an ogre, and for any Japanese viewer this line probably sounded obvious. He's very intimidating, and also he is the only killer out of the list that has a cosmetic that makes his face completely visible, so you can equip it with any piece and enjoy. The only cosmetic that changes his face is his Rift one, and the poor guy is completely beaten up. And finally, we have Sadako. She looks really close to her original actress in the Ringu films, so it's really cool how they gave her such attention to detail in her face. Also, her prestige outfit adds a little bit of blood as well. You can see her face when she performs her iconic Mori. And that was all. I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, make sure to check out my channel for more amazing content like this one. Have a nice day.